we have here today with us Ma'am Bianca Huab, who will be talking about honoring children's narratives. Miss Huab is a grade 3 reading teacher from Ateneo de Manila University. Let us all give her a warm welcome.
Good day, everyone. I am Blanca Maria Huab. You may refer to me as Bianca, and I'm from the Ateneo Grade School, currently on my 12th year of teaching. So last school year, I was assigned to help with grade 3 teaching, but mainly the making of modules and materials for the subjects reading and language. Today, I will be focusing on the subject reading and presenting a part of assessment in the time of COVID, which is honoring children's narratives in a time of crisis. In the third quarter of last school year, making a storybook was the summative assessment assigned for the grade 3 students. Since it was the first time to give this kind of assessment in the grade level, pilot testing of several apps was a vital step before it was approved. Since the school mostly uses Google Apps, we wanted to see if using third-party apps such as Book Creator or Story Jumper would be worth it as compared to the usual Google Slides or Google Docs. A few chosen students were invited to a meeting after class to discuss instructions, and they were given a week to make a storybook using the Nativity story or the birth of Jesus, a story which they were all familiar with and can write using their own words in a short period of time. So here are some valuable information we obtained from the pilot testing. First, which app was age appropriate for our students, the one they felt most comfortable using. This was very important for us to know because aside from the task at hand, we didn't want to make them use an app if it would just make it more difficult for them. Second, which app had special features or things they discovered while using the app, features that are not available in the usual Google apps. Third, how much help they needed from their parents. We wanted to use an app which would require little to no help from parents because not all of them are available to assist with schoolwork. Fourth, how long it took for them to finish making their storybooks, so we could give them a reasonable deadline. Next, problems they encountered while making it, if any, so they can be resolved before giving the task to the rest of the batch. Then, how they understood the instructions given to them. This was based on what they submitted to see if the instructions needed to be improved before discussing with the rest of the batch. And lastly, if the chosen app can be accessed using both a computer and a tablet. This was done through the help of a teacher who deals with technical issues. Next, challenges encountered. At this point, we were able to pinpoint one major challenge: the payment to upgrade the account in the chosen app, which will be used to create multiple libraries for all sections, couldn't go through, so we had to work our way around it. As for the solution, we asked the help of the class teachers to sign up for an account and create a library for their own section. These libraries were accessible to the reading teachers so they can check their students' works. As for advice that we can give to other teachers, we have three. First is exploring apps in advance to have enough time to be comfortable and knowledgeable in using it. If it's not user-friendly for teachers, usually it would be more difficult for the students and their parents. Also, to narrow down best options. Since most schools are doing online learning at the moment, there are a lot of apps available and created even every day. Next is foresight. Use pilot testing before introducing the use of a new app to help you foresee any hiccups that may come up. It would be best to conduct pilot testing one grading period prior to implementation or use of the app. As for volunteers, preferably students who finish submitting requirements early, and try conducting it during a light week or when students are done during completion week. And the third is having backup plans. It's important to always have backup plans when using new apps so that when a problem arises, it wouldn't take long to think of a solution. Make sure to have other options when the chosen app does not work as well as you wanted. As for the results, the reading teachers and chosen students preferred Book Creator. The students said they were most comfortable and had the most fun making their storybooks using this app. They said Story Jumper was quite similar to Google Slides or Docs. Minimal help was needed from parents. It helps a lot if instructions are simple yet specific. They were able to complete their storybooks within a week or even less. When they begin as soon as the task is given, they can finish in advance. They also did not encounter any major problems. Book Creator has a simple and user-friendly interface. The students have the option to import their hand-drawn artworks, use their gadget's camera to take photos and upload them directly to the app, or import images from their device, drive, or online. They also have different tools to choose from like pens, markers, and brushes. They can insert emojis depending on the theme of their story. They can change the background of each page into different colors and even textures. And for those who are not very good at drawing or illustration, there is the auto draw mode wherein you can simply draw a shape and it will give you options of various icons or figures. You can just draw a triangle and turn it into a pizza in seconds. So here we have the grasps or goals, roles, audience, situation, product, and standards. The main competency for this assessment was to make an original storybook in digital format. For knowledge, we were able to integrate language and Filipino in this assessment since they will be applying what they learned from those two subjects in writing their story, and they should be able to identify important elements of their story, which they also learned in reading class. For skills, they should be able to illustrate and design a storybook using the computer through the Book Creator app. And for attitude, they should be able to recognize the value or moral of the story and determine ways to apply these into day-to-day living. The materials they needed were a story of 9 to 10 sentences and the storybook making app, which is Book Creator. The library code was provided by their class advisor, which they use to log into the website and access the digital library where they will upload their work. The time allotted or given for this task was 2 weeks. Instructions for this assessment were explained by the reading teachers in their respective classes. We tried our best to simplify and be specific with the instructions in the Google Classroom post. Everything they needed to make their storybooks were uploaded, a checklist of what they needed to accomplish, the rubric for grading, sample templates for the story elements, tutorial videos on how to use Book Creator for students and also for their parents or tutors, sample books made using Book Creator app, and lastly, the Google form. A checklist was uploaded to the Google Classroom to make sure they are able to complete the parts of their storybook. A rubric for grading was made by the reading team to ensure the students and their parents know how their work will be graded. This will guide them make their storybook worth the 30 points and will give them a chance to pull up their third quarter mark in reading. Part B, as mentioned earlier, was about the story elements and the cover page, which was given 1 point each, while Part A focused mainly on how their storybooks were made. The bulk of Part A were from content and creativity or media, which were given 5 points each. Organization or structure was given 4 points, while sentence construction or grammar was given 3 points. Since language is the subject wherein this is taught, neatness, length, and punctuality then given 2 points each. To recognize their students' effort, the lowest score they would get for each category was 1 point. The three main parts that make up their storybooks are the cover page, storybook pages, and the story elements. The storybook pages are made out of the parts of the story. This is where integration of different subjects come in. It was important to show them the flow of the story and relate it to their lesson in Filipino, which is the Bundok Salaysay, and show how it looks like in English. This lesson was discussed weeks prior to this task. As for language, they were able to use what they learned from their third quarter lesson in writing a narrative paragraph. The last step, which was revising, was also done in the weeks leading to assignment of this task. Because of this, we thought it would lessen the load of the students if we allowed them to use the paragraphs they have already written. In language class, they wrote about the hobbies or interests they developed to cope with the quarantine. While in Filipino class, they wrote about what happened to them and how they coped during Typhoon Ulysses. Other topic options include lessons and experiences that are important and interesting to them at this age. As you can see, the integration of the lessons from these two subjects in this assessment is not 100%. But hopefully in the future, we can really combine the lessons from these subjects and make a single summative assessment for the quarter. Even with those options of making the task easier for them, at the same time, we also did not want to limit them. They still had the freedom or option to write a new story. Either way, the main goal of this task was to bring out their creativity and talent in writing a story on their own. Also, to make them feel heard, as it has been very difficult for them this year with a lack of interaction with their peers. Boys these age usually have so many stories to tell, and while it's good that most of them are at home with their families, it's not the same situation for everyone. Some go a day without having anyone to talk to aside from their helpers at home, since their parents are also busy with work. The third main part of their storybook was the story elements. Each one was explained to them in detail, and they were also given sample templates on how they can present these in their storybooks. This was the last part. All of the questions we could think of that the students might ask, we also addressed them in the instructions. Some of these questions were brought up during the pilot testing, while some were thought of by the teachers. Of course, they were still allowed to send a private message to the reading teacher if they had other questions or concerns while making their storybooks. The last step was answering the Google form. Even with the checklist, we thought some students still wouldn't be able to include the story elements at the last part. Because of this, the reading teachers decided to make the Google form. The students simply needed to fill out the story elements, and the rest of the form was used by the teachers to grade their work and import their scores to Google Classroom. At first glance, the task may seem overwhelming because of the new app, but based on their feedback, those who had a difficult time doing it were the ones who started just a few days or even a day before the deadline. This is why we reminded them to put the 2 weeks to good use by exploring the features of the app and maximize it to the best of their abilities. We believe 2 weeks is more than enough to complete this task, given that they could use paragraphs that they have already written as their main story. In the end, most were pleased with the end product, and the reading teachers were able to choose 24 best works from the batch and are now made available for viewing in the AGS online library, the first of its kind. Consent forms were sent to their parents before posting their work online. All chosen students and their parents were thrilled to know that their work would be exhibited online and were grateful for the opportunity. Hopefully, these books would encourage students to read and write more stories and explore their creative side. If you'd like to see the best works, you may go to this link. My personal favorites include Have You Seen Pointy, which was hand-drawn, scanned, and uploaded. Then we also have The First Adventure of Lee, the Young Ninja, and How I Learned to Play the Piano. These were both comic styles storybooks, which included photos of the students enjoying their adventures. To summarize, these were the learning experiences from this assessment. First, investigate, understanding the instructions and rubric for grading, and learning how to use the Book Creator app. Second, collaborate, choosing what to write about or improving a paragraph that they have already written, which could involve consultations with their teacher and discussing with a small group about their written story in class. This could be done in breakout rooms, again with the guidance of their teacher. And lastly, create, writing or improving their storyline and making or drawing illustrations. As you can see, all of these are valuable and practical skills that will still be useful in the future and in other subjects. And remember, Book Creator is not only for creating storybooks, you can also use it for other subjects. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Ma'am Bianca, for sharing. And thank you for the participants for taking part in this session. Once again, we invite everyone to take part and share their thoughts and insights in gbco at gbco.online/share.